Hey, it's Ricky Gantz here with G220 Ministries, and this is another question for the so-called Hebrew Israelites. Now, I asked this question in light of the conversations that I've had over the years and recently in dealing with so-called Hebrew Israelites who will say that when speaking about the deity of Jesus, they will say that they themselves are gods. In fact, the last conversation I had with a group of so-called Hebrew Israelites out on the streets, they claimed that each one of the men that were there in their camp was a god. And so my question for you so-called Hebrew Israelites is, what is the distinction between Christ being called God and you yourself being called God? Because I do believe there is a distinction, as we see in John chapter 10, when they are questioning Jesus. He does reference to Psalm 82 and say that, is it not written in your law, I said ye are gods. And in Psalm 82, it references that ye are gods, but you will die as men. And so what is this distinction? Because also, if you read this in its context, these Jews were picking up stones to stone Christ, to end his life, because he, being a man, made himself equal with God. And that's exactly what the text says, because they called him to be blaspheming, because he, being a man, made himself God. And so what is the distinction then? Why is not every so-called Hebrew Israelite that claims to be a god in the first century being stoned if they're just saying, hey, we're all gods in a small g sense? So what is the distinction between you claiming to be a god, these first century Hebrew Israelites, and those in Psalm 82 who are being referred to as God, and the distinction between Christ being stated as God?